Hey there, I'm Dr. Megan Manfred, and today I'm joined by Dr. Bill Rand from Data Science, and he'll tell us more about his work related to AI. Go ahead, Bill.
Hi, yeah. So Bill Rand, I'm the McLauchlan Distinguished Professor of Marketing Analytics. I also serve as in the Poole College of Management, but I also serve as the Goodnight Executive Director of the Institute for Advanced Analytics, which is the first data science program in the world, kind of an unknown little hidden gem here at NC State University. We have almost a 20-year legacy of working with students and training them in how to do data science in an intensive master's program that we run. And so I work with the students every day in terms of the way I work with them in AI and understanding data science. My background also comes out of artificial intelligence, but I've always been more interested in not necessarily building the next AI tool, but in applying AI to social science, understanding how and what AI can tell us about the world around us. And I continue to do work using analytics and AI to understand things like the diffusion of information, how people find things out. A lot of that context has been in the space of social media, which has obviously been a growing field as well with AI, and how to make data-driven decision making easier for people. You know, in the world of the managerial space, I try and figure out how to build tools that allow people to make data-driven decisions more readily, easily available to them.
So is your background in computer science or business mainly, or how did you kind of your career trajectory and maybe by way of some suggestions for students today, kind of thinking about where they will end up?
Yeah, my background is in computer science. All my degrees are in computer science and AI, basically. I took some other programs along the way, but primarily I would say they're in computer science and AI. I made the transition about 20 years ago almost to a business school. And the reason why was because I realized that there's a world of computer science that's very interested in studying how to make an algorithm better, and I was interested in that, but not as interested as I was in how to take that algorithm and study a problem that had never been studied before. And at the time I was graduating, that wasn't a common aspect of computer science. So I decided I was going to be in a social science field of some sort. Nowadays, you have the growth of fields like data science. You have the growth of fields like applied computer science that really do specialize a little bit in this. So if someone's interested in that kind of space, I would say explore around. It depends upon the programs. We have some good data science tracks within various disciplines here that can provide you with those toolkits. But I do think having a computational background, a statistical background is increasingly useful in when it comes to understanding AI.
Yeah, great. So you've spoken a lot about the future of AI and work. So I think you're started to allude to this in your previous comments, but like what are the most significant ways do you think AI is going to shape careers and specifically how people kind of think about jobs and what changes do you think will come?
Yeah, I think AI is reshaping work in a number of different ways. I like to think of like three big categories. One is like the way that AI is reshaping how we find work or how work finds us to some extent, right? Which is
Hmm.
both how are we identifying opportunities that are open to us, AI, and how is AI being used in hiring? How is AI being used in the job search process? A great example that I like to talk about is L'Oreal. Did some work with using an AI bot to kind of help with the first round interviews for customer facing positions. And one of the things that they found out by having, of course, there's a lot of benefits to having a bot do this rather than a human. It saves a lot of money, saves a lot of labor. You can technically interview more people, right, for the same amount of cost. But one of the things they found out was they actually were able to generate a more diverse set of candidates for the next round of interviews than they were under their previous approaches to first round candidates. Partially because they were able to interview more people, but also because even though AI has biases, and we could talk a little bit about that, humans have biases as well, right? And so the AI, as long as it's less biased than humans, is still going to provide a richer candidate. Uh, but one of the interesting things also was that as a side effect of the study, they found out that people who didn't get a job offer from L'Oreal were more satisfied with the process when AI was involved than when it wasn't, which I find is an interesting aspect, right? And I think it's partially people feel like if they're interviewing with AI, they can definitely they can be more honest potentially, they can be more upfront, they can be more the real person. Where when they're interviewing with a human, maybe they're a little guarded and cagey. There's still a lot of research to be done in that space, so I don't want to make any claims, but I think it's really interesting some of the results we're seeing there. And I do think AI is going to fundamentally transform the way we go about finding work. There's a project that we've been working on here with Steve McDonald on hiring in AI. And we're going to be rolling out a set of workshops and events to try and educate students on how AI is used in the hiring process going forward.
So are you concerned at all if, for instance, job candidates are using AI to create a resume and cover letter, and then the employer is using AI to review the cover letter and
Yep.
resume, that there's just the machines talking to each other, or where does the human come in, I guess, in those
Yeah,
cases?
that's a great question. And yeah, why do we need the humans anymore? Just have the AIs talk to each other. That's enough, right? I think the answer is pretty obvious that AI is not doing this by itself, either on the hiring side or on the job search side. It's not like really the AI is just generating the resume and generating and analyzing the responses. In each of these cases, we're talking about AI working with a human, right? So the job searcher is using AI to help polish up their resume so that it has more of the terms and more of the better words. But it started with an AI, a human generated object to begin with, and they got modified by AI. And on the job search side of things, I'm not saying that L'Oreal was not getting rid of humans at all in the search process. They were using it at one level to make a decision. Plus, even before that, someone had to set up that AI to ask the right questions, to set up the right experience for the interviewee to be involved, right? And so, in none of these cases is AI working alone. And I think that's actually a big part of what I would call the next big wave future of AI and work is changing is AI is becoming a teammate, right? It's something that we count on as part of our team rather than being just something that, we use to solve a couple of different problems, right? It becomes this general purpose tool that we need to think about. Now, it doesn't solve all problems. And so one of the things we need to do is better understand when is AI providing a good solution, when is it not? But it is allowing us to kind of collaborate with this tool, allow us to kind of offload what I would call lower cognitive tasks, right? So if I'm thinking about it from the AI job search perspective, I'm a hiring perspective. If I want to go out and interview a bunch of candidates and I'm going to ask them the same 5 questions again and again, and I'm not going to deviate from that script, why do I need to do that? Like I could save my time and energy for thinking more about, oh, what were the responses? Did I like the way that this person responded versus this person responded? And sit back afterwards and analyze that, or have the AI choose a couple of candidates that look really good, and then I put them in a much more intensive experience or an interview process than I would have otherwise, right? And so AI is going to continue to be this teammate who is here to augment the way we do work, not to replace the work that we're doing necessarily.
Yeah, I like that. So the notion of it as a teammate to replace some of these lower cognitive tasks, to offload that to make us more efficient and maybe be able to concentrate more on some of the more critical tasks. You mentioned previously too, and I'm glad you brought it up about bias in AI. So if these are our
Mhm.
teammates, and we're, increasingly turning to chatbots or whatever to help us make decisions or to draft things. How, like, what do you see are some promising approaches to reducing AI or bias, I'm sorry, in AI driven decision making or systems? And then kind of what are the responsibilities of us as organizations when we deploy these tools? So big
Yeah,
question
yeah,
about
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
around the umbrella of bias, hallucinations, et cetera.
Yeah, when we first saw the publicly available toolkits in like November 2023 around ChatGPT 3.5 that really had this interface, I was really, really worried about bias, I should say, right off the bat,
Yeah.
because we know these systems are trained on human data, human generated data. In fact, many of the LLMs, the large language models, are trained on large corpus of data or corpora of data from the internet. And we know that that is biased. So I'm very concerned about this. However, I've become a little less concerned than I used to be, right? And partially it's because of things like the L'Oreal study I mentioned earlier, where it's been shown again and again that even though AI is biased, it may not be as biased as a human decision maker in some contexts. Now, and there have been plenty of counterexamples, so I don't want to kind of state that this is universal, right? And so we really need to think about what our benchmark is for placing AI into a system where it could make a biased decision. Is our benchmark no bias at all, which is always what we should be searching for? Or is it just, is it better than whatever process we have in place right now? And a lot of times I think we don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good, and we want to improve the selection or decision-making process already. And in many cases, AI is going to be better. However,
Yeah.
I totally agree that we should be looking for removing more and more bias from these systems as we go forward. There is one technique that I've really become entranced with recently, which is called adversarial debiasing, which I really like.
Mm.
So, in simple terms, the idea behind this is that if we have an AI that's making a decision that's critical and could affect, opportunities that a person might have in their future career or their, future life, we train another AI to try and predict, based upon the outcome of the first AI, what was the protected class of the individual? Can we predict the gender? Can we predict the ethnicity? Can we predict the religion, the age, whatever the particular classes that you're interested in, right? From the output of the AI system. And of course, if we can predict it, that says that the original AI system that's making the decision is biased in some way. And so then what we do is we reward the adversary whenever it's able to accurately predict the protected class, and we penalize the main AI system and say, you made a bad decision, or you should think of this as a biased decision whenever the adversary is able to make a prediction. And this way we can make the decision maker essentially unbiased or blind to these various attributes that are present in the system, right? And I think that's a really cool method. It kind of allows you to kind of scale up automatically and allow the AI to kind of learn from its own decision-making process about how to reduce its own bias.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And then there's the human element there that is providing feedback. So if there's like the human
Yep.
machine teaming, then in that
Yep.
case.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, so what do you see? I know this is kind of hard to predict, but on the the horizon for instance, our new graduates or future graduates about an AI enabled world, just to wrap up.
Well, I think that the truth of the matter is there's going to be a lot of new great opportunities to
Mhm.
use AI to scale up what we're doing, right? To allow AI to do stuff that we, quite frankly, might find boring or inconsequential in some respects, and have them automate that process in interesting ways, right? And so that's going to give us more time to be creative and to take thinking and processing to a higher and higher level. I think that, if we want to kind of really embrace that notion, we need to figure out where AI is best. Where does AI work best, right? And
Mhm.
understanding that. And from that perspective, I would encourage everyone out there, right, to be playing around with these tools on a regular basis so that they learn when AI works well and when it doesn't work well. And so they can really understand the limits of this technology, and they can figure out how can it work better in my mindset. Um, I told a bunch of students yesterday, actually, that they should, every time they're going to do a Google search or every time they have a question, they should do it whatever traditional way they're going to do it. That's fine, right? Do the Google search, they're pulling out a book from the library, pull out the book from the library, but then also do the AI search at the same time, right? And compare and
Mhm.
contrast the method so that you have a better understanding of when AI is responding appropriately and when it isn't. And you get a better understanding of how to be what I'd call an AI skeptic, someone who can look at AI's results and determine when is it right and when it's wrong. And I think if you really want to be a productive member of the workforce
Mhm.
going forward, you need to know those limits of AI and need to know what AI is working well for to better understand how you can contribute to society.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. Yeah, so the point there is that our part of our AI literacy is understanding both the opportunity and the limits there, the
Yeah,
challenges.
yeah, 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 100%.
Thank you, Dr. Rand. Thanks.
Thank you.